Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today. We are going to be talking about shared experiences and putting hybrid to work. To kick things off, let me introduce myself. My name is Joe Hudspeth, and I'm part of BAE Systems in their Power and Propulsion Solutions Global Marine team, and I work as the Director of Business Development. Today for this webinar, I am joined by two great presenters. The first presenter that I want to introduce to you is Mr. Robert Kunkel. Robert Kunkel is President of Alternative Marine Technologies and the Managing Partner of Harbor Harvest, which is a marine highway designated project for shipping cargo across Long Island Sound on hybrid catamarans. And we will hear more about this project in our talk today. Bob has previously served as federal chairman of the Short Sea Shipping Cooperative Program under the Maritime Administration and Department of Transportation. He's also a past vice president of the Connecticut Maritime Association. Bob is a contributing writer for several maritime, marine, and technical publications, and he continues as a technical advisor for several private equity firms. Bob is a graduate of the Massachusetts Maritime Academy and was a commissioned naval officer and has continued his career in ship construction at several prominent shipyards. Today, Mr. Kunkel continues developing the maritime component of short sea shipping and offshore wind energy along the east coast of the United States. So thank you, Bob, for joining the conversation today. We're happy to have you. And I'm also joined by Micah Tucker. Micah Tucker has a diverse background in the maritime industry, including yachting, commercial craft, large ships, and special projects. Most recently, Micah founded the design, engineering, and construction management firm Tucker Yacht Design to specifically address industry needs for specializing project management and engineering services related to vessel design and construction. Previously, Micah has acted as general manager, engineering manager, and operations manager for Director Shipyard, handling multiple complex projects in new construction, retrofit, maintenance of both yachts and commercial vessels. Micah led the team that developed and built the first hybrid electric passenger vessel in the U.S. From a detailed design all the way through Coast Guard approvals. And Micah is also proud to be part of the team that designed and constructed the first all-electric passenger vessel in the U.S. So thank you, Micah, for also joining us today. So without further ado, why don't we kick things off? And Bob, how about you start off by telling us how you first got involved with hybrid technology and what was your motivation to choose a hybrid electric propulsion system?
We started out with Micah and Director Shipyard putting a design together to carry 65 children out for research into Long Island Sound for the Maritime Aquarium in Norwalk, Connecticut. The board and supporters of that aquarium came to us to discuss a new design vessel that would have no environmental impact, no emissions, and was quiet enough for the teachers to be able to direct the children in different activities out on Long Island Sound to try to keep the waters clean and to deal with what was actually handled by a very smaller, older boat that could not carry the 65 children. It's interesting to note the 65 was based on the size of a school bus. So Mike and I had to sit down with BAE Hydrogen and come up with a catamaran design and a hybrid design to meet the requirements that the board was looking for.
Thank you, Bob. That's great. Appreciate you giving us a little bit of background on that. And Micah, Bob talked a little bit about sitting down with you and considering hybrid propulsion systems. Micah, can you describe for us what systems are available for owners and operators who are looking to reduce fuel consumption and emissions?
Sure. There's a range of options out there, going from just kind of an assist function with an added electric component, or you can go the opposite end of the spectrum and go full electric with zero emissions. But it works out to the least intrusive project where you're adding an electric motor to a diesel drivetrain as either a boost function or a optional diesel or electric functionality with a dual input gearbox, or a gearbox with a PTI input with an electric motor on it. And that's your basic parallel hybrid architecture, which is shown here on this slide. So you can see you've got a diesel engine connected to one end of the gearbox and a electric motor on the other side, and they can operate together at the same time or each individually to combine. Then you go the next step over and you go into a serial hybrid architecture, which allows you to have an electric motor directly driving your shaft line and propeller, powered either through a battery system itself, or a battery and a generator option. And in this kind of setup here, you're powering the electric motor through the battery system, and the diesel engine and generator act kind of as a range extender. So they're recharging the batteries as needed in order to to extend your range without extending your battery size. And then you can go the next step and remove the diesel generator altogether and just go pure battery electric the entire way. And then there is another option going even farther than that, where you can have a range extender, which is a hydrogen fuel cell, which kind of acts as your diesel engine there and is recharging the battery bank or supplementing the battery bank as you go. And that is, as basically as clean as you can get, because the only emissions out of there are pure water.
That's great, and I'm glad you mentioned hydrogen fuel cell, and later on in the talk I'll circle back and talk a little bit more about what BAE Systems is doing in this forefront and bringing the first hydrogen fuel cell powered vessel into operation in America. So thank you for giving us the overview, walking us through the various systems, starting off with the Hydrogen Assist, which is a parallel-based system, also the Hydrogen Series hybrid system, as well as using that same technology in an all-electric configuration or fuel cell-powered configuration. And it's nice to work with these components in a modular fashion. You can see from those slides that Micah walked through is that each of the components are used in both of the systems and simply just arranged in different configurations. So perhaps Bob and Micah, you can each chime in as you do. Feel free. But I was wondering if you could provide a bit of an overview of the hydrogen system in terms of what components are needed and what they do at a very sort of high level.
Yeah, Micah, you go ahead and handle that on the technical side, and then I'll come back in on the commercial side.
Sure. So if you start off on this slide that we have up now, starting from the left-hand side, you've got the propeller, which is directly connected to an ACTM, which is a AC traction motor. So it's an electric induction machine that is basically your drive line, right? That's what's powering your shaft. To the right of that is the PCS, the propulsion control system, which is actually a series of bidirectional inverters. So it's converting DC power into the AC, variable frequency AC power that's driving your propulsion motor. And it's also converting AC power from the generator to DC power to go into your battery and energy storage system. Moving farther to the right there, the part that's labeled as the ISG is an integrated starter generator. So that's a variable speed permanent magnet generator that functions as a part of the diesel generator or diesel engine to create that variable frequency AC power, which will then get converted to DC to recharge the batteries. Moving up, just above the ACTM is your energy storage system. Here is a product made by Corvus shown here, but any manufacturer's 600 volt DC bus battery system will work. On our project, we happen to use an Exalt battery system for Harbor Harvest, but there are plenty others out there that give you a lot of different options. Then above that is the APS, the accessory power system. So in this system architecture, you have the option of pulling hotel power out of your battery system or your generator-based power, which will provide you with either 24 volt DC for your house loads, or 208 volt three-phase variable frequency drive controlled power for your major loads. So as like a hydraulic power pack for deck equipment or a crane or anything that you may have on board. And then to the right of that is the SCU. So that's the system controller unit. It's the brains of the operation. That's where all the control functions and all the control of the system in general, including the diesel engine.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm glad too that Bob had mentioned the vessel originally being designed to fit the amount of people that fit on a bus. And that's a good tie-in and correlation with BAE Systems, because BAE Systems originally developed this hybrid propulsion technology for the transit bus industry. And so it is one of the benefits of the system is all the components are very small, modular, and lightweight. And so they are able to fit in a variety of configurations depending on the vessel type. Also, Micah, thanks for talking a little bit about the generator. And the nice thing about this generator is it truly is a variable speed generator. And one of the benefits associated with a variable speed generator is that generator is able to operate and be commanded at the RPM that is necessary to create all the power that is needed, both for hotel loads and for propulsion. So that variable speed generator is always operating in a loaded state, which is the most efficient mode for it to be operating in. So it's burning fuel absolutely efficiently, and it's reducing the amount of engine on time. It's only coming on when it's needed, and it's using the batteries in correlation to buffer some of those high power demands. So I appreciate you talking about that. Bob, did you want to add a little bit more to the conversation?
To understand the fact that, number one, it is a modular system that can handle many different applications. I mean, on the 3 vessels we've been involved with, and the third one being Harbor Harvest, which is the first hybrid cargo vessel ever built, we have a walk-in refrigerator, we have a cargo crane that's operated. So the system's capable of 24 volts, 600 volts from the battery, 120 volt AC. You know, that modular system allows designers and design integrators like Mike and I to be able to, mend the boat into what application an owner or a customer may want to look at. So the vessel that we own right now with Harbor Harvest, we carry 20,000 pounds of cargo and 50 passengers on a 3-foot, 8-inch draft with no environmental impact on the battery power. The range extender allows us to start looking at different itineraries. So when we first started to look at how we were going to meet some of the requirements we felt important because of climate change, we started to look at what the applications could be to continue on with the design. And, also the fact that the vessel was capable of meeting different operating requirements, beyond just passenger or beyond just research. So as these issues continue to be determined, what we were happy about with our partnership with BAE Hydrogen and Cummins and the people involved is that we looked at battery longevity, we looked at power capability, speeds, which were all, easily put into play. And probably more importantly, like Joe raised, the fact that there were already systems out in the transit bus system allowed us to have some trend analysis and also look at the fact that we only had to marinize the system and start dealing with the Coast Guard and the regulatory bodies with a proven system that just had to be now applied on water. And I think that's an important note when trying to select your vendor and starting to look at a hybrid application like this.
It's a very good point. I am having a little trouble with the slides on my end, so I do apologize for that. Hopefully we can get that resolved, and everything comes through okay. But I did want to back up just a second here and also talk about one of the things about the system in terms of being easy to use and easy to operate. Bob and Micah, you're both licensed captains, and you have plenty of experience behind the helm of both a hybrid vessel and a conventional propulsion vessel. And one of the things we wanted to do in designing the system is make it very intuitive and easy to use, easy to operate. And perhaps you guys can talk about a little bit what it's like to operate the vessel. And another thing that I wanted to mention is we do provide a data logger on board the vessel, and that data logger is used to monitor the performance of the system as well as diagnose any potential issues that may occur on the vessel. We realize that this is newer technology for the maritime industry, and so BAE Systems is there to support the vessel wherever it is in the world by being able to access information through this data logger. So, Bob, do you want to talk a little bit about operating the vessel and what it's like?
Well, first of all, Mike and I are both engineers along with boat drivers, but what it comes down to is we've now operated this third vessel in the series for a year with not one single alarm or one failure in the system. The confidence in the system that we have now almost comes to the point that when we decide to make a run and deliver farm products and some of the commercial applications we're using for the vessel, we're literally coming down, disconnecting shore power, flipping a switch, and taking off. The fact that the vessel sits on shore power, is charged, it's ready to go, is just absolutely, unbelievable to me for all the years I've had in shipbuilding and dealing with warranty issues and everything else. So we had a year here with not one warranty issue, not one failure on a system operating about twice a week across Long Island Sound in all weather conditions, all temperatures. And about the only thing that I can, add to a little bit about it is that we come to understand, being on a hybrid, that most guys that are in that pilot house driving the boat drive a boat by sound. And it takes a little bit of use for them to sit back and be able to understand that they're looking at propeller speed rather than engine speed, that they have to pay a little bit more attention on how the boat moves simply because it doesn't clutch in at a high RPM. You can set that motor for any RPM that you want, so there's a lot of maneuverability using an electric system. So, everything I have, and I'm the owner of the Captain Bedmore, of the third vessel that Micah and I have put together, it's just been near bulletproof in operation. And, we take the climate change issue very seriously. So the fact that we're working towards a zero emissions technology is very important to Mike and I. So, Mike, I'll let you add to that.
Yeah, I think that the most important aspect of it is that we've operated the boat now through its first winter and summer period this past year without any incidents at all. So we've gone through freezing weather, which is typically a difficult time for the lithium batteries. They like to be kept at somewhat normal temperatures, right, throughout the entire year. And throughout that winter, the vessel performed, as if it were June or July in the Northeast. It didn't need any special treatment. It didn't need anything beyond, going in the wheelhouse, starting the boat up as you normally would, and getting underway. So in terms of ease of use, the captains really, when operating the vessel, they operate it just like they would any normal vessel. It's got the same throttles, the same controls, and they really don't notice a difference until you first push that throttle forward and you don't hear the diesel wind up, and all you do is see the boat lunge forward and move. So there's really not enough that we can say about how well this boat actually operates and runs.
That's great. And can you guys respond quickly to the emissions-free components of the vessel, and were there any features or benefits that you couldn't have because you selected a hybrid vessel? I see that the Captain Ben Moore has refrigeration and a crane, working deck gear. The Spirit of the Sound had an A-frame. So are you inhibited in your emission by using hybrid technology, or does it add a benefit to you?
We look at it as an added benefit. I mean, there is a sales and marketing, portion of this that the vessel is operating, when it's on its batteries without the generator running is emissions free. Understand up here in the New York and New England area, most of the terminals, most of your harbors are very gentrified. And the fact that the design of the vessel from a standpoint of the photo you're looking at, and the fact that it only draws 3 feet, a little over 3 feet, and then comes in with no noise and no emissions or smell or diesel engine, operation, has allowed us to enter into ports that would not consider commercial deliveries. So I think the hybrid portion of this project has been one of the major selling points of us moving farm products across Long Island Sound and trying to remove congestion off the highways, using our waterways again. So from an owner's point of view, we believe that it's been one of the top areas of discussion.
That's great. It's a great point. Take that congestion off the roads and do it in an environmental and sustainable way using the marine waterways and your hybrid propulsion. Absolutely fantastic. Mike, I wanted to ask you, you've been really involved with implementing hybrid technology right from the beginning, and all of the applications have been U.S. Coast Guard inspected vessels. So can you share just a little bit about what factors really need to be considered, especially from a boat builder's or naval architect's perspective when considering using hybrid and electric technology on both new construction or a retrofit application?
Sure. So, all the vessels that we've worked on so far with these systems have been Coast Guard inspected, and they have been new builds. There's been a lot of talk about refits or repowers going hybrid. There haven't been too many yet that have pulled the trigger on that. There have been a few, but not too many. But the going hybrid or full electric offers you a range of design flexibility because you're not tied to the typical engine room arrangement that's required for a diesel power plant. So you can feel free to put the electric equipment where it needs to go or where you want it to go, because it's not tied to length of run or a physical shaft line other than the electric motor that needs to be somewhere specific. So your typical diesel engine room, which would be large and full of major equipment that needs to all be in its own space together, can now be split up and spread out throughout the boat, to balance weight concerns or to provide more flexibility in the arrangement of the vessel itself, which when you're designing a new vessel is kind of you have to approach it with a different attitude than you normally would, because you're not designing around your typical engine room which takes up the full beam of the vessel and is located exactly where you want the most comfortable position in either in your accommodations or the largest position for cargo stowage or holds. So it changes the way that you design a vessel, and you need to approach it with the Coast Guard perspective of knowing that from the beginning and knowing where you're going to put certain components, so you can meet the Coast Guard requirements from day one. Now, that said, the Coast Guard regulations obviously are not really where they need to be just yet, because of the process that's involved in updating them. And they have really done a good job in trying to work with these projects, with the existing regulations as they are, while implementing some recommendations, moving towards lithium-ion battery, rules being incorporated. But it certainly is a challenge, and you need to get the Coast Guard involved in the beginning phases of the project as early as possible, so you understand what regulations are involved and how to mitigate some of the challenges that they present, before you get too far along in the design phase.
Absolutely, and it's great to know that BAE Systems has been doing this for over 20 years, and we certainly are leading in terms of U.S. Coast Guard inspected applications, putting vessels out there, putting them to work, and the system is proven and reliable. Bob, I wanted to circle back with you and ask you, did you receive any particular funding for these projects, and what type of funding might be available to operators looking to follow in your footsteps?
Oh, right now, the first vessel and terminals and everything that we've built out for our project have been privately funded, which is why I can't afford a new computer right now. But the different environmental groups, I'll use like NYSERDA in New York, even New York Agriculture, Connecticut Agriculture, have reached out to look at, how the waterway aspect, can be extended. We were selected by the Maritime Administration Marine Highway Group as a designated project through the Connecticut Port Authority. And I think the environmental aspects of that marine highway system were important to everyone. But at this point in time, we have not received the funding, through the designation. So I think our lesson from this point of view is this is something that's got to move quickly. It's entrepreneurial. It's a movement away from, existing historical propulsion systems or operations. So I think you'd find that beyond some of the environmental grants that are available and that a lot of people take advantage of, that you'll find that there's a lot of private equity and VC capital out there that are looking for projects like this that do have that environmental aspect to it. So I think private funding is coming along. I think you're starting to see these projects become investment quality. But there are grants through some of the environmental groups and government agencies at the state levels that can help you.
That's great. And if I can get some help switching to slide 10, I do want to mention another project that is underway currently that is also receiving some Maritime Administration funding, and that is the Water Go Round vessel, which happens to be the first hydrogen fuel cell powered vessel in America. And trying to get it to advance there. Hopefully it comes through. This vessel is currently under construction right now and is looking to be launched later this year and operated by Switch Maritime. So it will be the first of its kind, but it also leverages the proven experience and technology that BAE Systems has in hydrogen fuel cell propulsion systems. So very excited about this project. It will be also a U.S. Coast Guard inspected vessel. Another vessel, if we can advance to the slide 11, that I wanted to mention to you is also in service and in operation. And this is not a hybrid propulsion system, but is a hybrid power generation system. And so on the Christopher Parsonage, we're able to leverage our technology to take power off the main engines and generate all of the hotel power for the vessel and save them over 25% in fuel savings. In some instances, it could be closer to 30%. So great fuel savings there, space savings. I do want to invite everyone to ask some questions or join us at the BAE Systems booth to learn more about our hydrogen power product or any of our hydrogen power and propulsion systems. So I do want to thank Bob and Micah for their time today and sharing their experience with us. And again, we welcome any questions and look forward to speaking with you at the show. Thank you for joining us at this year's Inland Marine Expo and our webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.